In Christianity and Islam, Jerusalem remains very important in understanding the spiritual times and seasons of the world. One thing that science and religion all agree on is that the earth definitely will not last forever. There is an end. And recently in Israel, 3 prophetic events have just occurred, showing that we are at the very end of times. What are these events? Stick around as we explore them. In the Christian Bible, Luke chapter 21 verse 36 advises us to always be on the watch and pray so that we may escape all that is about to happen and be able to stand before the Son of God. As time goes by, more tension and pressure mounts as all the world religions are quite aware that we might be in what is popularly known as the last days. The last days have prophetically been characterized as one of the deadliest, with so much chaos and disasters. We have seen prophecies about the end times getting fulfilled before our eyes, and more are still on the way. As we speak, 3 very significant events have taken place in Israel that have been prophesied about from ages past about the end times and the coming of the Messiah. The Siloam Pool has been widened. Netanyahu's government seems to be trying to reclaim the Temple Mount, and the Prime Minister Netanyahu himself has announced a possible attack on Iran again. The fulfillment of all these events is an accurate fulfillment of the prophecies of the prophets of old. We will explain these events and their significance shortly. But before then, we must remind ourselves of the significance of Jerusalem to the overall end-of-the-world scenario piloted by the coming of the Messiah, who would establish the Messianic age. Too many prophecies have been made about Jerusalem in the end times that it will be folly to take our eyes off the city in this dire moment. Let us talk about the prophecy of the widening of the Siloam Pool. How is it significant to the coming of the Messiah? Before the new year, the Israeli Antiquities Authority, the Israel National Parks Authority, and the City of David Foundation had announced the reopening of the Siloam Pool to the public. The pool was excavated by archaeologists, and there is a rejoicing as construction continues. They are not only fixing the pool, but widening it as well. But how does this have anything to do with the Messiah's return? Throughout history, the Pool of Siloam has been very significant to the working of God with man on earth. In fact, the purification process of the times of old could only take place in Jerusalem with this pool. The priest, likewise, and the general public played at the waters of Siloam. One of the uses of the water from this pool is the red heifer's ordinance. What does the red heifer's ordinance mean? The ordinance was given by Moses. In his instructions, the priest was to mix the ashes of the red heifer with flowing and alive water. This is the waters from the Siloam. The ordinance was all to purify people who were unclean. When the mixture was sprinkled on them, they were made clean. It was also with this water that Solomon was anointed king, and it is believed that it will be the same water that the Messiah would be anointed with on his return. In the Old Testament, the pool is mentioned as a place where King Hezekiah built a tunnel to bring water into the city. 2 Kings chapter 20, verse 20. In the New Testament, the pool is mentioned in the story of Jesus healing a man who was blind from birth. John chapter 9, verses 1 through 12. According to some interpretations, the healing of the blind man at the Siloam Pool is significant to the coming of the Messiah. In Jewish tradition, the coming of the Messiah is associated with restoring sight to the blind. In the story of the healing at the pool, Jesus is seen fulfilling this messianic prophecy. The location of the pool itself is also significant in terms of messianic prophecy. The Siloam Pool is located in the city of David, the historic site of the ancient Jewish kingdom. According to some interpretations, the coming of the Messiah is associated with restoring the Davidic kingdom and rebuilding the temple in Jerusalem. In addition, the Siloam Pool is associated with the Feast of Tabernacles, which was a major Jewish festival that celebrated at the end of harvest season. The festival also had messianic overtones, with the expectation that the Messiah would come and dwell among the people during the celebration. According to some interpretations, the healing of the blind man at the Siloam Pool occurred during the Feast of Tabernacles, which further emphasizes the Masonic significance of this event. Now, as the pool gets restored, there is great excitement because this might be an antecedent to the coming of the Messiah. However, for the Jews, this will be the coming of the first Messiah, while the Christians expect the second coming of the Messiah. Next is the issue of reclaiming the Temple Mount by Netanyahu's government. It's been ages of prolonged battle between the Muslims and the Jews, who are in a battle to claim the Temple Mount. The Temple Mount in history has been the location for both the first and the second temples. Another place seems suitable for building the third temple other than the Temple Mount. Yes, it is at the same time as the Muslim Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque. For years, the Jews have been deployed from equal ownership of the Temple Mount. Still, things are radically changing recently as the Netanyahu government is bent on reclaiming equal ownership of the Temple Mount or driving out the Muslims completely. On this note, the National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir visits the Temple Mount on January 3, 2023. The visit is regarded as the first visit to the Holy Mount since he assumed the position. This happened despite condemnations for the opposition and threats from the Gaza-ruling Hamas terror group. According to Ben-Gvir, they will not capitulate to a murderous organization and a repugnant terrorist group. He went on to say that the Temple Mount is a very important place for the people of Israel. The Temple Mount should be open to all, including Christians, Muslims, and Jews. Claims that he would not allow racist discrimination in a government that he was part of, and that Jews would assign to Temple Mount as well. This is an open challenge to the long-standing issue of the deprivation of the Jews from assessing the Temple Mount. Ben-Gvir has long advocated for formally altering the Temple Mount status quo, in which Muslims can pray and enter with few restrictions. Jews can visit only during limited time slots via a single gate and walk on a predetermined route closely accompanied by police. Jews are not allowed to pray at the site, though recent years have increasingly seen police allow some silent prayer. According to this radical national security minister, those making threats must be dealt with an iron fist. This clearly indicates that Netanyahu's government is ready to go to war to achieve Israel's rightful place on the Temple Mount. What is the significance of this event? Reclaiming the Temple Mount will only mean that the long-standing obstacle to building the third temple will finally be taken out of the way, and the third temple will be built. If that happens, that will be a major prophetic fulfillment, as it will be accompanied by many other spiritual occurrences, such as the coming of the Antichrist, the Dajjal to the Muslims, and the son of perdition to the Christians. He will come and cause chaos in the world, deceiving many from the path of truth into deception. This must happen before the coming of the Messiah, who would end the Antichrist's reign and finally establish peace among the nations of the earth. But what about the prophecy about Israel's attack on Iran? Israel's prime minister has recently been launching threats about his plans to attack Iran, and the whole world, especially us, is bothered by this. The prime minister seems to be in full preparation to go to war. According to some, this is confirmed by his approval of Mossad's continued assassination of Iranian nuclear scientists. The whole chaos might be surprising for the world, but when you study prophetic books such as the Bible, the entire event will no longer be strange. In the book of Jeremiah, chapter 49, verse 35, shows Jeremiah prophesying, saying, "Behold, he would break the bow of Elam on that day." That day is probably now, the end of time. And historically, Elam is found in Iran. Looking at the map will give you a clear understanding of the entire scenario. But a man is not only in Iran. The situation worsens. The alarm is discovered to be in the location of Iran's nuclear weapons facility. This is the very target of Netanyahu, and an attack on this pot might not be one that will be recovered from in a very long time. The threats of Netanyahu are not ones that started today, But we made a recent announcement again. There is tension everywhere. So far for the course, Israel's government under Netanyahu spent $2 million on preparations for an all-out air attack, supported by commando forces in the heart of Iran, and for the anticipated ensuing war against the radical front: Syria, Iran, Hamas, Hezbollah, and Palestinian Islamic. According to Scripture, God will bring the forwards from the four quarters of heaven, and the people of Elam will be scattered to the four winds. As a result, there shall be no nation to return to. With the nuclear weapons facility in the Bashir province of Elam, the likelihood of the prophecy coming to pass is 100% possible if any attack is launched at Elam. But what are Netanyahu's reasonings for taking this threatening stance? Recently, Israel has been in the spotlight for many criticisms from the world's nations, starting from the point of its attempt to reclaim the Temple Mount alongside other reasons. And with Netanyahu's recent response to the chaos is an attack on Iran. Your body announced its intention on January 17, 2023. And from the looks of things, the man is not joking. But with all these prophetic events becoming fulfilled at a very close range of time, it is quite clear that it might be time for the wrapping up of this age as the Messianic one comes into full play. What are your opinions about the claims that the third temple has been built? Will the Messiah eventually be revealed to us now? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, ensure to like, share, and subscribe for more.